Exactly 6 years ago today was the last time Rutgers defeated a nationally ranked opponent. Can the Scarlet Knights end that drought this afternoon with an upset over the 13th ranked Huskies of Connecticut? And a very pleasant good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Picozzi, and welcome to Piscataway, New Jersey, and our Big East matchup. Rutgers is off to a 1-3 start, 0-1 in the Big East, but there's a new feeling of optimism in this neck of the woods. Joining me is former West Virginia and Duke coach Bucky Waters. And Bucky, Rutgers has turned to a native son of New Jersey to try to restore its basketball glory.
Yes, they have, and Kevin Bannon says it best. He said they dated a lot of big-name Big East coaches and Eastern guys, but they married me, and they got the best guy. He's done a great job of reclaiming Trenton State and Ryder. He's well respected in the state. He will do well. His problem is now he inherited an 11-16 team that just couldn't finish, and he's got his hands full today with the Huskies.
He'll be without his starting point guard, Earl Johnson, today, and as a result, will rely on a pair of Jeffs. One is a veteran, one is brand new.
Well, Jeff Billett is averaging 37 minutes a game, so he has endurance, but that's not 37 minutes with the Huskies chasing you. And Jeff Greer is only a freshman, but at 6'5", he is Kevin Bannon's first recruit. His size will be very important handling all those traps.
Jim Calhoun has coached some great players in his 12 years at UConn, but he says he has never quite seen a freshman do some of the things which Khalid El-Amin has done in his first 7 games.
Well, a lot of time these guys come in with big reputations. He chose the Huskies over Kansas and Georgetown. He is the real deal. Averaging 19 a game and 95% free throw shooter, coming off a 29-point effort against West Virginia, and they needed all of them to win.
It's a very cold day here in central New Jersey, but Rutgers officials are expecting a near sellout crowd. They call this place the Rack, the Rutgers Athletic Center. You'll find out why it's called the Rack over the course of the afternoon. Back with the opening tip after this. Back at the Lewis Brown Athletic Center, where the starting lineups are being introduced to the crowd here. And those starting lineups first for the University of Connecticut. It is a combination youthful yet experienced starting 5. We spoke about Khalid El-Amin up front. Ricky Moore joins him in the backcourt. Richard Hamilton and Kevin Freeman are the forwards, and Bucky, Jake Voskuhl, the center, off to a rough start for the Huskies.
Yeah, but they're so quick at the other 4 spots. As long as they can sustain transition, they can get by without great performances by Voskuhl. But down the line and later in the year, when the chips are stacked much higher, they're going to need some inside play. But that help may be coming December 20th.
Yes, 3 players will become eligible at the conclusion of the first semester. Now, the starting lineups for the hometown Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. We spoke about the guards at the top of the telecast. Jeff Billett and Jeff Greer are those starting guards. Rob Hodgson and Sam Sanders are the forwards. And a young man from Lithuania, Alvydas Tanis, is the center.
Well, Rutgers was a team, as we pointed out, that was 11-16, and they just couldn't finish. They scared some folks last year, but they just couldn't finish. Kevin Bannon tried to put in a tough man for man as the signature of his program. Hasn't been able to get that done. This team has been used to playing zone. As a result of some success at Miami, the coaches felt good, even though it was a loss there. There is now a trend to come back, go with what his present squad is more familiar with, perhaps revert to a little more zone. I think we'll see it today. The question is, can they get back and set it up against the hustling Huskies?
Besides leading the series 19-12, UConn has won the last 4 meetings, is 3-0 against Rutgers in Big East competition. Prior to joining the Big East 2 years ago, Rutgers had not played UConn over a period of 16 years. So as a result, the Scarlet Knights' last win over UConn is back in February of 1978. But this is not the first time that Jim Calhoun has coached against this man, Kevin Bannon. When Kevin was at Ryder back in '94, Bucky, he gave Jim Calhoun quite a scare in the opening round of the NCAA tournament.
Calhoun described the experience as somewhere between root canal and a big-time headache. The guy can coach, no question, and he's going to recruit well, especially here in New Jersey, where he's known and respected. He's way overmatched today, however.
UConn won that game by 18. It was tied at the half back at '94. Here's the tip, controlled by UConn, going from right to left. Quickly on the right, it's Hamilton. And we will see UConn press at every opportunity and try to wear down that backcourt.
Yeah, Billett, as we pointed out, is used to playing a lot of minutes, but the constant pressure of Connecticut is apt to wear him down.
This is Greer, cross court to Billett. UConn starts out man for man. They'll do that almost all night. Greer for three. Rebound knocked out of bounds. Last touch by UConn.
Rutgers has the dilemma of attacking the Connecticut pressure and then at the other end deciding whether they want to risk a quick shot or set up and allow Connecticut to get in that tough half-court man for man. It is a dilemma. That's why Connecticut is such a good team.
Billett defended by El Amin. We will no doubt see more on Billett at some point during the day. Nearly knocked it loose. This is Greer. Tanise in the lane, has trouble handling. Billett, good head fake. And the rebound batted around, controlled by Greer. Sanders goes up and down. And the call made by Tim Hutchinson, who's working today's game with Gene Monge and Mike Kitts.
No way he could have assumed that that Richard Rip Hamilton was behind him, but that in fact without a rear view mirror he didn't see him.
3-2 zone for the Scarlet Knights. Now Kevin Bannon is a man-to-man coach, but he realizes with his personnel and with the injury to Earl Johnson, he certainly can't play UConn man-to-man today. Voskuhl, cross-court Hamilton. El Amin inside to Freeman.
Nice ball movement that time by the Huskies.
UConn out to a quick 5-0 start. The trap pays dividends. Steal Freeman. El Amin inside to Freeman. Batted loose by Hodgson and taken away by Billett. To Sanders. Blocked by Voskuhl. And here comes more, and the Huskies head the other way. Hamilton. Rebound Voskuhl. His shot is blocked by Hodgson Tanise. But UConn controls and a new clock.
Rutgers taking a lot of lethal shots in there. I mean, but so far Connecticut just can't get it down.
El Amin for three. Moore tries to control the rebound. Can't. It's Hodgson.
Boy, they pound you on that board. You got to limit them to one shot.
Billett for three. And the Scarlet Knights get on the board.
That sequence was critical to Rutgers. Connecticut showing all of their power and speed on that offensive board, yet they weren't able to convert. And now Rutgers is gaining confidence.
2-on-2, Billett to Sanders, and another traveling call. And Jim Calhoun will go to his bench, and we will get our first look at Antrick Kleber, 6'10" junior out of Silver Spring, Maryland, and he will replace Kevin Freeman. So now the Huskies with a couple of big guys inside with Kleber and Voskuhl. As Moore walks it across the timeline. This is Hamilton, who was a Chase preseason All-NIT selection. Kleber with the miss, Sanders with the rebound. This is Sanders on the right. Sanders not much of a scoring threat. Hodgson for three. Rebound Greer. Blocked by Voskuhl. Last touch by Voskuhl. Kevin Bannon wanted a foul.
Rutgers very assertive. They are definitely ready to play. And this is going to be a long siege, I think. Rutgers clearly not trying to hold the ball or anything close to it. They're taking that first good shot.
This is a team that's averaging only 58 points per game, hasn't scored more than 65. And we will get an offensive foul call on Greer. So the Scarlet Knights turn it over yet again.
Well, that's the freshman exuberance. At 6'5", he has good quicks. He likes to penetrate, but he has to respect the quickness of Connecticut.
4 quick turnovers in the early going. Monquencio Hardnett in the lineup for UConn. El Amin tries to kiss it off the glass. Billett rebound, and the Knights look to run again. And this time it will be Moore called for the foul on Billett. And the sarcastic cheer from the crowd. Jim Calhoun says they call this place the Rack, and when you coach here, when you're the visiting team, you feel like you've been on the rack.
Like the same rack the Marquis de Sade used. It's a tough place for visitors, even though they've been down. The spirit here is exceptional, and the noise just seems to come down on you as a coach and player, especially if you're a visitor. And
Sanders just turned it over for the 3rd time. 5 turnovers overall for Rutgers.
And if he can get the local talent, the Tim Thomases of the world that have been escaping Central New Jersey in particular, he's going to give these fans something to really cheer about.
Freeman back in for Voskuhl for UConn. So they have El Amin, Moore, Hardnett, Freeman and Claver. Inside, Freeman bounces it off his foot. Here comes Greer. 2-on-2 if he hurries. And he does. So UConn scored the first 5. Rutgers has scored the next 5.
Yeah, I think that one sequence when Connecticut was all over that offensive board and seemed to have so many good looks and couldn't get it down, and then Rutgers converted, I think that really gave the Scarlet Knight a lift.
Sanders with the reach-in steal and the finish. Well, the one thing when you're a visiting team is you don't want to give the home team a chance to get their fans into it. It's already too late to prevent that.
I think Jim Calhoun expected a good start, and the fact that Rutgers is going to make several good runs. One, because they've got some talent, and two, they're very confident at home. He's just got to be patient and wear them down.
El Amin misses the 3. Greer rebounds. Once again, the Knights look to run. It's Sanders. Inside to Tenise. Pretty move. 9 straight points for Rutgers. They lead it by 4. Here come the Huskies. Hard net. Blocked by Hodgson. Knocked out of bounds.
Whoa!
And we will get our first timeout of the afternoon. 15:10 remaining first half, and Rutgers leads UConn 9-5. Has given Rutgers an early 9-5 lead, and Bucky, the Scarlet Knights show no signs of wanting to slow it down.
No, they haven't. They've actually attacked, which I think that basket by Sam Sanders on a breakaway, it seems like they've started to get the breaks. They're building momentum. I think Jim Calhoun would like to have called a timeout sooner, but he knew that TV timeout was looming, so he just kind of hung in there. But it was a heck of a run by the Scarlet Knights, and they've got this crowd juiced.
And yet another UConn turnover as Freeman is stripped inside. This is Greer. Hamilton back in the Huskies lineup. UConn still in the man-to-man. Greer defended by Hamilton. Eric Clark in the lineup for Rutgers. Drives on Voskuhl. Did the hard part but missed the easy shot. Rutgers gets it back. Hodgson. This is Johnny Blake, 42. His first appearance in the lineup for Rutgers. Shot clock at 4. Billett misses. Rebound Voskuhl. Ahead of the field El Amin. He's got Hamilton, who drives on Greer. So UConn had gone scoreless for 4 minutes.
Well, part of that is when Rutgers was scoring, they couldn't set up the press, and they had to play against that half-court zone, and they didn't look very good doing it.
Clark loses the handle as he drives down the lane, but it was last touched by UConn. And Rashamel Jones will check into the lineup for the first time for UConn. He replaces Ricky Moore. Jones, a high school teammate of Rutgers' Earl Johnson, who is sitting it out with a knee injury sustained last Tuesday against Miami. Off the inbound, Billett for 3. His second 3 of the night. He was 6 for 9 from downtown against Miami.
And he was wide open. So far, the inside has been shut down by the Rutgers zone. Oh, late call, or maybe we just didn't hear it up here. This place is rocking.
Clark blocked Hamilton's shot, then Hamilton was called for the foul, his first. So Rutgers with the ball and a 5-point lead.
But at least it gives the Huskies a chance to set up the press.
This is Clark on the trap. Freeman shakes it loose. El Amin picks it off to Jones. Back to El Amin. El Amin scored 29 points in each of his last 2 games. 3-2 Rutgers zone. Voskuhl high post. Hamilton on the wing. Cross court to Jones. Blocked by Blake. Pulled down by Billett. Kicks it out to Greer for 3.
Wow.
Rebound Freeman.
I think Kevin Bannon would like to have that shot back. They can get that one at any time.
Jones, head fake, crowd wants a walk. Another UConn turnover. Unofficially, that's 6. Ahead is Clark. And it's 14-7.
And it's the Scarlet Knights that are running, not the Huskies. They're beating Connecticut down the floor, and it's sheer hustle.
And the crowd is going wild. It is not quite the sellout they had hoped. They sold this place out for opening night against Princeton. Rutgers has played now 4 of its first 5 at home. This is Jones off to a very rough start for UConn. As a starter a year ago, El Amin gets the head fake and hits the jumper.
Very poised on the road. El Amin is the leader. He was in high school. Led his team to the state championship. He's not just a scorer. He's a leader as well. Also leads UConn in assists and free throw shooting. Billett with the miss. Voskuhl with the rebound. Huskies look to run, but Rutgers gets back quickly. Hamilton for three. And UConn pulls within a pair. Had his tonsils checked on that one, too. That is not a passive zone the Scarlet Knights are playing. And they know where the shooters are. That was just a tenth of a second late. Hamilton defending Greer in front of the UConn bench. This is Clark shooting over Voskuhl. 4 points for Eric Clark off the bench. And it's Rutgers by 4. El Amin for 3. He's got 5. Those threes catch you up in a hurry. At the next stoppage of play, Jim Calhoun will make 3 substitutions. They have to take a number there in front of the scorer's table where they're all sitting. Billett defended by El Amin. This is Greer. He's not shy, Bucky. Precocious freshman Jeff Greer, a tri-captain. Very unusual for a freshman. Along with Jeff Billett. Jones for 3. And Hodgson. And Hodgson pulls down the rebound. Clark wants the ball. Hodgson doesn't see him, takes it himself, and it's called for the charge. Oh, somewhere in between, Kevin Bannon is saying, I love the way you're pushing it up the floor, but, you know, let's really make sure we get a good shot. And he's not going to crush him. Timeout on the floor, 10:52 left in the half, and UConn trails Rutgers by 4. By 4 following a slow start. Khalid El Amin starting to heat up. Well, he went right by Jeff Greer. Greer anticipating a screen that time. El Amin 2 for 5 from the floor, but those 2 in a row really helped to break the back of that momentum that the Scarlet Knights had built up. Very judicious, a John Bagley-like quality. He's close to the floor and just a very, very smart player for a freshman. Plays like he's 30 years old. It's amazing. Pass inside by Hamilton, knocked away by Rutgers, so it will be Huskies ball beneath their own basket. This is the first away game for UConn. They played 2 games at neutral sites at Madison Square Garden. Rutgers has only played 1 away from home. So Hardnett controlling the ball. This is Hamilton. Rutgers now in a 2-3 zone. Hardnett goes around Sanders, and Sanders called for the reach-in. That will be his first, 3 in the team. We've played almost 10 minutes, Bucky. You've yet to see a free throw. And it's not because they aren't trying. Both teams playing with great ferocity. There you see what UConn has done in the Big East in the 90s. They lead the league in everything. Total wins, road wins, conference wins, home wins. Hardnett kicks it out to Hamilton, and Klaber will be called for the foul. He thought it would go the other way, and it looks like Jim Calhoun did too. So far, Bob, Connecticut getting very good looks on the perimeter. They've had difficulty inside. Their postmen haven't been reacting quickly, and the collapsing defense has caused turnovers. But they're getting good looks. They're just not going down for the Huskies. First foul on Klaber. Here's Sanders. UConn wanted to travel, and here's an offensive foul call on Sanders. He's a little bit shaky at the offensive end, Bucky. Well, he's just determined to take that ball as deep, as quick as he can, and he's got to respect the quickness of the Connecticut defense. Good slides up front. Connecticut is not big. They're not going to block your shots, but they're very aware, very savvy defensively, and they come across the seal with their bodies. So Sanders will sit down, and Johnny Blake back in for the Scarlet Knights. So it's basically a 3-guard look for Kevin Bannon's club, as it is for Jim Calhoun's club. There's the miss by Hardnett. Freeman tries to keep it alive. Hodgson pulls it down, and Billett will walk it across. We're past the midway point of the half, and Rutgers leads it by 4, led by as many as 7 after trailing 5-0. But again, the key is Connecticut isn't scoring, therefore it can't set up the press, and it's just a loop. Look for UConn to score, press, score, one of those frenzies they're patented for before we get out of this first half.
This is Hardnett to Moore at the top of the circle. Hamilton on the left wing. Kleber in the post, tried to go inside. Clark knocks it away. Hodgson steals. Collision between Billett and Hardnett. No call. And Billett will look to set things up. UConn having an awful time with the entry pass.
Well, that time too, Kevin Bannon used that timeout. That time Rutgers used much better judgment. They got the turnover, came down. Now they're going to try to keep Connecticut on defense a little while. They're going to get the same. Oh, great defensive play that time by Rip Hamilton. Right with him.
Shot clock at 6. Hodgson drives, kick out to Clark. Shot clock at 3. Gets it off. Hodgson rebound. New clock.
Everything going the Scarlet Knights' way.
Except there.
Except
Hamilton with the steal and the finish. So UConn pulls within 2. Hamilton with 10 of the Huskies 17.
Part of it's the crowd. Part of it's the frenzy with which Rutgers is playing. But it looks like Rutgers is just killing them. But you look up, it's a 2-point game. That's why Connecticut's ranked 13th.
And Freeman will be called for the reach-in. Now, Freeman is from Springfield, Massachusetts, but he's a product of the New Jersey high school system from Patterson Catholic, was heavily recruited by Rutgers. Timeout on the floor, and it is Rutgers leading by 2. UConn by 2, this completing the first week of conference play. By the end of this game, most teams will have played 2 games. Some will have played only 1. A few early surprises in the league, Bucky. I don't think anyone expected Georgetown to be 0-2 in the league.
Well, I happened to work that game against Villanova the other night in the MCI Center, and 28 for 22 from the foul line did them in. And of course, they reeling from that one, went to Miami, and a lot of teams are not going to want to be in Miami this winter.
Yeah, Miami 2-0 in the league. Notre Dame winning its Big East opener yesterday. Here's a foul called on Rip Hamilton. That will be his second. And 5 on the Huskies.
Tommy Amaker, the new coach at Seton Hall, had his debut spoiled by the Villanova Wildcats off the momentum of their win over Georgetown. They had been struggling prior to coming in to face the Hoyas, but Amaker, like Bannon, both of these programs in a building mode, and 2 excellent guys to do it.
Kleber with the steal, starts to break 2-on-2 with El Amin. Pull-up jump. Rebound inside. Kleber fighting with Hodgson. Jones picks up the loose ball along the baseline. This is Moore. El Amin around Clark. It's batted away by Clark right into the kitchen of our cameraman.
Our cameramen are tough. I saw them get their tetanus shots right before the game. They hold their ground.
Inbound pass to Jones, rejected, comes back to El Amin, and Moore looks to start things over. 19-17 Rutgers lead. Rutgers with 5 blocked shots already. Here's El Amin for 3, goes halfway home but doesn't stay.
Talking about that transition, how important it is. Connecticut in 13 half-court setups playing against that zone, only 7 points, and yet 5 transition times they yielded 10 points. The problem is when they don't score, they can't press, and right now they're caught in a waltz, and that's not Husky rhythm.
Greer loses the ball right in front of the UConn bench. That's 11 turnovers for Kevin Bannon's Scarlet Knights. As Antrick Kleber sits down, he was certainly very active at the defensive end. So Voskuhl back in along with Freeman, Jones, El Amin, and Moore. 3-2 Rutgers zone.
Rutgers changing that zone from 2-3 to 1-2-2, but they always have a tall guy on the point. Now it's Hodgson. Before it was Greer.
Jones, nice head fake, goes up. Jim Calhoun wants to know where's the call. Billett starts it the other way to Hodgson. This is Clark. And Greer back to Hodgson, top of the circle.
Rutgers has forgotten about Tenise. He's working hard. He's been open, and they're passing him up.
Now he's got it. Over Voskuhl. And the rebound, Freeman along the baseline. Rutgers scoreless in the last 5 minutes. What do we say about those entry passes? Jim Calhoun just 6 wins short of becoming the first coach in college basketball history to win 250 games at 2 different schools. Did it at Northeastern and is about to do it at UConn. Ball goes out of bounds off Voskuhl.
One of his most impressive stats to me is the amazing success he's had on the road in the Big East. Voskuhl there with a body check.
UConn 43 and 27 on the road in the Big East in the 90s. Jones with the steal and the layup to tie it at 19. Jones has tried so hard, Bucky, to get going, but he frankly just is not handling the 6th man role at all.
It's only the first week of December. This is going to be a very good team.
Jones with another steal. El Amin runs the break to Freeman. So Rashamel Jones making it happen with back-to-back steals, and Kevin Bannon wants a 20-second timeout with 5:28 to go in the half, and UConn by 2. And when the Huskies are active defensively, it jumpstarts the offense. Let's take a look at Jones again.
The key for Connecticut is patience. This is going to be a spirited Rutgers team, and Connecticut has more and better players. They just have to be patient. That quickness and that defense will eventually, I think, wear down the Scarlet Knights.
Rutgers already has turned it over 13 times and has now gone scoreless in the last 5:40. Rutgers opened the season losing at home to Princeton, then beat Columbia at home, lost at home to Iona, lost at Miami the other night. After tonight, next up will be a home date with Delaware State. And then they go to South Florida next Saturday. Hodson being pressured by Freeman, and Freeman will be called for the reach-in. That's his 2nd foul. We mentioned before Freeman went to Patterson Catholic, teammate of Tim Thomas, the great player at Villanova. Rutgers recruited him very heavily. When Kevin played here last year for the first time, he was booed every time he touched the ball by the New Jersey fans.
I grew up in Jersey. They're not very forgiving when you're hard on them.
This is Billett, defended by Moore.
He's going to have a much better college career than Tim Thomas, obviously. That was a huge disappointment.
Tenise inside, misses the shot. Rebound Freeman. 6'7", runs the break himself. El Amin with the pull-up.
A John Bagley quality, if you're old enough to remember a New England scorer. Close to the ground, 200-pounder. Knows how to use his body. Very efficient.
8 straight UConn points. They're up by 4. Billett inside to Tenise. Turns on Voskuhl. Can't buy it. And Freeman with another rebound. He leads UConn in that department.
Tenise has to put more pressure on. Those fadeaways are not what Rutgers needs now. They need to establish some inside game.
Freeman tries to save along the baseline. Can't. Not sure that last shot by El Amin was what Calhoun wanted. And he may be discussing that with him as he sits down.
He did look a little tired, but he's the kind of a guy that can shoot you in and shoot you out. And both he and Calhoun have to come to an agreement on just what's a good shot, what isn't. And Jim has to be patient. He doesn't want to destroy his initiative.
Moore deflects the inbound, resulting in the steal. Jones drives, block. Clark shot, or Voskuhl shot, block. Here comes the break. Greer by Moore, and Jones with the rebound. Jones has been everywhere in the last 2 minutes. This is Hardnett and Moore.
Hodson again at the top of the key, making it a difficult pass into the post from the top, so Connecticut is feeding from the wing. Good adjustment.
Jones for 3. Rebound, weak side Voskuhl to Hardnett for 3.
For Rutgers, Billett got caught back on the board. Voskuhl went right over him, kept the ball alive. Connecticut got another crack.
11-0 UConn run. Billett across the timeline to Hodson, and he'll be fouled by Klaver. That will be his 2nd. And UConn now over the limit, so Rutgers will be at the line shooting the 1-and-1.
That good Connecticut pressure. Hodson trying to force his way down the foul line, down the sideline, right in front of the Connecticut bench.
So we've played now I was never very good at math. 16 minutes and 34 seconds. And this is our first free throw of the night.
But it's not like there hasn't been contact out there. It's been a well officiated game. Both teams playing very hard.
And Hodgson misses the free throw, and the ball belongs to UConn. But first, timeout on the floor. 3:23 left in the half, and UConn leads by 7. UConn a 26-19 lead over Rutgers with 3:23 to go in the opening half. Rutgers led by as many as 7. Khalid El Amin back in the lineup for UConn, which has used its pressure defense to force 13 Rutgers turnovers. The Scarlet Knights, as you just saw on your screen, have not scored in nearly 8 minutes. Now Rutgers showing some token backcourt pressure.
Well, I think they need to get out of that rut. Of course, when you're pressing Connecticut with their quickness, it's a bit like yanking on Superman's cape. But they had to make a change. When you go almost 8 minutes, whatever you're doing, it's not working.
Another offensive rebound for the Huskies. That was Jones. El Amin tries to drive. It's knocked away and stolen by the Knights. Interestingly enough, it looks like they have, at least for this possession, Billett off the ball. Jones tries to save and does. He has been incredibly active at the defensive end.
It's been a huge part of this run by the Huskies.
This is Jones for 3. And over the back foul on Hardnett. No. Other way. It'll be on Clark. That will be his first. Only 5 on the Rutgers team, so UConn's still not shooting. Huskies may go a whole half without getting to the line.
Clark now playing more of the 4 spot, with Tenise taking over the center spot, a more natural position. Very physical player inside. A desperate need for Rutgers.
So this is El Amin. Kleber along the baseline, lots of traffic. Voskuhl picks up the rebound, but a foul on Clark again. It will be his second, and UConn indeed will finally get to the line.
Kleber in traffic. Sometime he wants to be a 6'10" point guard, but that time he needed all of his mercurial skills to try to split all those white jerseys that had surrounded him.
So here's Kleber at the line, the 6'10" junior from Silver Spring, Maryland. On the year, an 80% free throw shooter. Reminder to go online with the Big East Conference at www.bigeast.com. So Kleber 1 for 2 from the line. UConn up by 8. This is Greer. Clark defended by Kleber as we approach the 2-minute mark of the half. Inside Hodgson. So Rutgers scores for the first time in 9 minutes. UConn up by 6. Voskuhl inside.
The erratic Jake Voskuhl. Boy, that time he took it right at Tenise.
Voskuhl had scored just 2 points in his previous 3 games. Those are his first 2 tonight. This is Tenise, head fake around Voskuhl. Reverse layup no good. Tap Clark no good. And there's that Rachamel Jones again.
Tenise, the 6'11" Lithuanian, very active, very agile. Most of your big men with European backgrounds not that athletic.
El Amin for 3, rebound Hodgson. Billett at the other end. That's his 3rd 3. And the Knights pull within 5 as we approach the 1-minute mark. And the fans offering their encouragement. Entry pass off Kleber's hands and out of bounds.
Kleber not assertive, nothing wrong with that pass. He just didn't want it. It's like the good Lord provides for all the birds enough food, but he doesn't go by and throw it in their nest. The big guy's got to want it.
So this is Hodgson, who just scored his first 2 points of the game 2 possessions ago. Billett. Rutgers trails by 5. They've trailed by as many as 8. Shot clock at 8, and here's Jones with another steal. He's been unbelievable. He's really struggling at the offensive end, but it certainly hasn't hurt his effort defensively. Jones for 2, rolls around the rim, rebound to Blake, and Rutgers, let's see if they play for one with 14 seconds left in the half. Now they circled out, they will play for one. Shot clock is off. Hodgson, defended by Jones. This is Greer, tries to go around El-Amin, a runner blocked by Jones, and he did it again. So we are halfway home here at the Rutgers Athletic Center, and UConn leads Rutgers at the half 29-24. As Jim Calhoun heads off the floor with his 6-1 Huskies ranked 13th in the country and find themselves in a battle.
I think he expected a close first half. The crowd, the enthusiasm of a veteran Rutgers team, but the second half with his depth, and I'm sure that was the strategic plan. We just keep coming at them, we wear them down.
So UConn at 6
turnovers, but they're out rebounding Connecticut, which kept them even, and a 4 for 7 from 3 points has kept them in this game. As we've said, the depth, the pressure defense of Connecticut may well take its toll here in the second half, but not if these fans have anything to say about it.
Let's take a look at some of the first half statistics. As we mentioned, lots of turnovers and good defense or bad shooting.
No, I think the defense is tenacious. I really think from the standpoint of getting good looks, there were few. Connecticut got some early, but I just think both teams have been playing sensational, emotional, and I think Rutgers got a little smarter toward the end. But let's face it, Connecticut's the 13th best team in the country. I don't know if that's accurate, but they're a heck of a lot better personnel-wise than Rutgers at this point. But on this floor, who knows?
There you see some of the scoring stats. One stat not up on the screen. How about Rashamel Jones off the bench, 10 minutes, 5 steals.
Incredible. He absolutely was a wrecking crew to get that thing turned around for the Huskies.
And we'll take a look at some first half highlights when we return after these messages.
To keeping Connecticut from the second shots. There's the Ely, El-Amin going by Greer, setting up, nailing a 3. He was 3 for 11 for the first half. That was his only 3. But he, just as sparking offensively is what he's in there to do, and he just never seems to lose his cool.
And as we start the second half, there we see Khalid El-Amin's numbers. Kevin Bannon at age 40 already with 277 wins as a head coach. Now, Bucky, he's New Jersey all the way. Verona High School, St. Peter's as a player, St. Peter's as an assistant. Head coach Trent State, head coach Ryder. He said before he went all around the state and he would recruit successfully the grade B players. Can he do the same thing and get the grade A players now that he's at a Big East school?
Well, I think for sure he's a Jersey guy, he's a Diner guy, he's a cheesesteak guy. I think the long-range projection for him is good. His track record is perfect. He takes it's like Habitat for Humanity. He comes in and he spruces up the place, brings in good people, and he wins. And there's no reason why he can't do it here with these terrific resources and the Big East to back him up.
Can't like the way the second half began. 1 second, and we already have Rutgers' first turnover of the second half. 17 of the game as Tenise lost the handle. So Rutgers sitting in that 3-2 zone to begin the second half. More Hamilton, Freeman, El-Amin, and Voskuhl on the floor for UConn. This is Freeman, the baseline.
If Connecticut attacks the left side facing the basket, they bring Jeff Billett, number 22, only 6 feet, back on the board, and that has hurt Rutgers from a defensive rebounding standpoint.
So there's Ricky Moore with his first points and his first shot of the game. So UConn by 7. We've played 30 seconds, second half. UConn man-to-man defensively. Billett, Greer, Tenise, Hodgson, and Sanders for Rutgers. 2 possessions, 2 turnovers in the second half for the Scarlet Knights. And here's Hamilton, wide open for 3. Freeman with the rebound in traffic. El-Amin, Hamilton, another 3. And this time the rebound foul will be on Billett, and that will be his first.
Again, to the point I made, when Connecticut attacks that left side, it puts Billett back on that weak side of the board. There's not much Kevin Bannon can do about it. He's got to have Billett in there. He was 3 for 3 from beyond the arc for 9 points. So he's got to live with it defensively, but Connecticut is exploiting it.
Pretty feed El-Amin to Freeman. And UConn now with its largest lead of the afternoon, 33-24. Rutgers still looking for its first points this half. UConn full court pressure. This is Greer for three. The freshman from Cardinal Hayes High School in New York City.
Kevin Bannon's first recruit, and he is a good one.
Traveling violation on Freeman. Bannon has already signed 3 recruits for next year in the November signing period. 6'5" Dante Jones out of Hamilton Township, New Jersey. 6'7" Billy Collins from Concord, New Hampshire. 6'6" Rashad Kent of Fairmont, West Virginia. And here's Jake Bosco picking up a blocking foul. And
Collins, of course, an outstanding player that committed to Boston College under Jim O'Brien, and O'Brien then tried to recruit back. Here's Tenise trying to make a play he's not capable of from the top of the key. Rutgers fortunate to keep the ball. Going back to Collins, O'Brien tried to recruit him to Ohio State, but Kevin Bannon has successfully recruited him here, which is an indicator that he is one smooth recruiter.
Tenise now 1 for 6 from the floor. Look at that shot by Elamine. Acrobatic while falling down. And UConn now up 35-27.
Tenise a little uncomfortable in the middle of the floor handling that ball against the Connecticut pressure.
This is Sanders. Defended by Elamine. Tenise. Rutgers has made a concerted effort to get the ball in his hands this half. Another turnover. Here's Moore, 3-on-2 to Freeman, but he missed the chippy inside.
Looked like it just slipped out of his hand.
Here's Billett, 2-on-3 over Voskuhl. No good, but he draws the foul, number 2 on Voskuhl. So Bucky Voskuhl went 22 minutes without a foul, and now has picked up 2 quick ones.
Jeff Billett playing all 20 minutes in the first half, showing that he's well rested after the break, really forcing Voskuhl to make the foul.
And Billett played all 40 minutes the other night in Miami. Outstanding free throw shooter, as you see.
Well, with 7 points, with 9 points at the half, he has already surpassed his best effort ever against Connecticut. In the 3 previous meetings, he was 1 for 8 for 3 points, 0 for 5 for 1 point, and 2 for 7 for 5 points in all of those 34 minutes, 26 minutes, 36 minutes. So UConn has had his number, but today he's showing offense.
Billett led the Big East in free throw shooting as a freshman, 1 of 2 on this trip. Doesn't go to the line very often. Only has 9 free throw attempts this year. So the lead for UConn is 7. Kleber replaces Voskuhl, who sits down with those 2 fouls. Rutgers zone looks a little more active on this possession.
Bannon adjustment too has put Billett at the top of the key, which takes him off that board. Good move.
Hamilton baseline off his own foot as he was pressured by Sanders. So a turnover for UConn. They had 11 of them in the first half.
Rutgers off to a horrendous start offensively with so many turnovers, but looking at it from their standpoint, with just a little over 3 minutes gone, basically they've held Connecticut even, and you know they've got some pop left in there. Look for a run.
This is Sanders for 3, rebounded by Moore. On the year, Sanders entering the game just 3 of 19 from the floor, so he's not the guy you want taking that shot. Hamilton on the wing, inside to Freeman, bumped by Hodson, loses the handle, but Hamilton gets it. Shot clock at 15. UConn's 7-point lead. Shot clock at 5. Elamine, long 3. Freeman keeps alive the rebound in the lane, puts it up himself, and Kleber over the top for his 3rd foul. And that will bring Voskuhl back in.
I think Jim Calhoun can live with a Kleber foul. That he's trying hard to get to that board. Forcing him to be tougher and more physical inside has been something of a challenge for Calhoun. He wants to be Ralph Sampson too.
Instead, Voskuhl in for Freeman. So Freeman sits down. Don't think Calhoun liked the shot that Freeman took after that rebound.
That's obvious.
He liked the effort off the boards, though.
Yes.
Here's Billett. Clark with the rebound attempt, no good, and a held ball underneath. Klaber there, Clark there, Hodgson there. Possession arrow points toward UConn. Timeout on the floor, 15:48 to go in the ball game. UConn leading Rutgers by 7. Back in Piscataway, New Jersey, Bob Picozzi along with Bucky Waters, and UConn leading Rutgers by 7. 15:48 to go. To get inside the huddle of your favorite Big East team, go online at www.bigeast.org for all the basketball and conference news from around the Big East. Did you have websites when you coached West Virginia and Duke, Bucky?
No, it was crystal sets, and we had those old microphones where the dog would listen, and we used to crank them. Come on. I had racing stripes on my wheelchair, man. I'm hip.
2-3 Rutgers zone. Ricky Moore to Hamilton. This is El Amin. Hamilton for 3. Long rebound, Sam Sanders. Rutgers looks to run, but the pass deflected by Moore, stolen by El Amin. 2-on-2 behind the back. Lost his balance a bit. Kick out to Moore. And he drops it to Hamilton. He'll shoot.
Nice transition that time by the Huskies. They made the extra pass. They didn't put up a bad shot. They were patient.
This is Greer for 3. Back irons it. Hamilton tries to keep the rebound alive, and Voskuhl hammers Greer on the loose ball. That's his third.
Yeah, just a good effort, though. Greer jumps up. He's not sure where he is. That little dial tone he hears. Watch this. Voskuhl, it's it. Whoa. Good effort. That's the way you want your big men to go after the ball.
Big Jake
fouls will come. That's all right.
235, Jake. His dad, Joe, 9th leading rebounder in Tulsa basketball history. Sanders drives, and he is fouled. And now UConn is suddenly getting into serious foul trouble. Klaber with his 4th, and Voskuhl with 3.
Rutgers now is spreading Connecticut a bit, putting the ball on the floor with a penetrating dribble, and they're creating something inside. Now we're under 15 minutes, and you know, it's just a 4-point spread. Calhoun, who could talk a coyote out of a lamb chop, making his appeal from half court, but to deaf ears here in Piscataway.
Sam Sanders misses the first, and now Rachamel Jones replaces Klaber. And look at this lineup, Bucky. Talk about going small.
Yeah.
5'10" El Amin, 6'2" Moore, 6'5" Jones, 6'6" Hamilton, 6'7" Freeman.
I should make the press very, very quick.
Sanders 1 of 2. Rutgers just 2 of 5 from the line. So the UConn lead is 8. We've played a little over 5 minutes second half.
Rutgers extending that matchup a bit. The double teams look like they're not really premeditated, just kind of happenstance. Boy, can he shoot.
So Hamilton nails the 3. Last year, Hamilton scored more points as a freshman than anyone in UConn's Big East history. So this lead 11, UConn's biggest of the night. But as we said, they are suddenly in a bit of foul trouble. They're 2 big men. Klaber with 4 fouls, Voskuhl with 3.
You have to go all the way back to Earl Kelly, I guess, in the early 80s before you had a freshman scorer of that magnitude.
Clark tries to keep it alive off the board. Sanders baseline, hammers it off Moore and out of bounds, and it will be Rutgers ball, and the crowd applauds the effort of Sam Sanders. Last year, Hamilton also became the first freshman since Jim Calhoun's been at UConn to score 30 points in a single game. He did it twice with 31. So now El Amin has 29 in each of his last 2. Here's Clark with an off-balance shot and rebounded by Hardnett. Outlet to Hamilton. Has Freeman inside. Oh! They made the eye contact. And Freeman converts. The lead is 13. Kevin Bannon says, let's talk it over. 20-second timeout. 42-29 UConn. 13:42 to go. The chemistry obviously there between the two sophomores, Freeman and Hamilton. Both knew what the other had in mind.
Connecticut now converting. Nice soft pass right on the rim. And the Huskies are running the floor. They are devastating. They've struggled a bit in the half court today. Give Rutgers some credit for that. The matchup has given them problems, but in reality, they have not taken away good looks. Connecticut has had good looks at the basket, haven't shot particularly well. And to Connecticut's credit, they haven't really got into their momentum. They haven't got into their game, and they're still looking at a 13-point lead with a little over 13 minutes to go.
Mentioned before, El-Amin with the 29-point effort in each of his last two. When he scored 29 against West Virginia the other night, he came within 1 point of scoring more points in his Big East debut than anyone in the history of the league. Allen Iverson scored 30 in his first ever Big East game. El-Amin applying good on-the-ball pressure to Billett. This is Hardnett on Sanders, Jones on Hodgson. Sanders on the right wing. Entry pass to Clark, spins on Freeman, shoots over him, and the foul will be called on Freeman, and that is his third. So now Jim Calhoun will have to do some juggling here for the last 13 minutes with Kleber with 4 fouls, Vasca with 3, and Freeman with 3, and what he will no doubt do is go small.
Well, from his standpoint, Rutgers not that imposing inside. Tanese on the bench right now, the only real inside threat. And Hodgson is a good worker at 6'7", but really limited and not much of a vertical player. So Calhoun can afford to go small. Coming out of that timeout, Kevin Bannon wanted to again establish inside, stop that clock, get to the free throw line, and attack Connecticut right now, who's in a little bit of foul trouble in the front court.
Clark 1 of 2 from the line. El-Amin tries the alley-oop, but Clark cut off Hardnett. Instead, Jones rebound and a travel. Earful for Jim Calhoun.
But it's a dead ball, and here comes the Husky press. Billett's got to be wearing down a little bit.
Yeah. Pass deflected by El-Amin. Still Rutgers ball. UConn was 16 fouls this half, only 1 for Rutgers. And Ricky Moore will check back into the UConn line. I mean, Jim Calhoun not only has the advantage over Rutgers in terms of the number of quality players, but he really makes a conscious effort to get his players in and out of the game to keep them fresh.
One thing about Calhoun's teams is the roles are always defined. I mean, the shooters shoot, the defenders defend. You don't see people going out of their way making careless plays in areas that haven't been approved. They've always been very efficient in the use of skills.
Like Ricky Moore, who has 4.7 assists for every turnover this year.
That's incredible.
Shot clock at 6 and a whistle, and if this is on Freeman, it's number 4, and it is.
Bob, you can see the Bannon strategy now. It's not looking for the 3, but taking it down inside against the smaller Husky team and a team that's in some foul trouble. Bosco coming back in. There's the power move inside. Rutgers not particularly skilled or efficient down inside, but right now it's doing what Kevin Bannon wants. It's stopping a clock and getting him on the free throw line, and that's a pretty good shot against a very tough Connecticut defense.
Rutgers now just 3 of 8 from the line, but Sanders keeps it alive with the offensive rebound.
All the coach can do is get him to the line.
Right.
Only a 63% free throw shooting team this year is Rutgers.
This is Billett. Greer wide open 3. So the UConn lead is cut to 9 with 12:20 left. Off the break, Jones to Hardnett, and Hamilton with the rebound.
Small, yes. Quick on the offensive board, indeed.
Sanders up the sideline. Double team in the lane. Hodgson kick out Greer for 3. And the rebound loose in the lane, controlled by Hodgson.
Sheer effort. Great hustle by the Scarlet Knights.
This is Billett. Gives up his dribble. Clark outside. Shot clock now at 20. Billett defended by Hardnett. Greer down low. Clark shoots over Voskuhl, gets the rebound, shoots over him again, and taps it up and in, but Clark will be called for over the back. And that's number 3 on him.
Yeah, senior Eric Clark. It really fits the personality of this Rutgers team today. Just kind of fumbling, stumbling, banging, but just relentless. He just kept coming to the rim.
Timeout on the floor, 11:30 to go in the game. 44-33 UConn. You're watching Big East basketball. 11-point lead over Rutgers with 11 minutes to go in this one. Rutgers has now turned the ball over 20 times. There you see what UConn has done defensively in its last 5 games, and that more than anything else, Bucky, is the trademark of the Jim Calhoun team, that field goal defense.
Well, just looking at that West Virginia game, the UConn shot 59%, but they needed 2 10-0 runs to come back against the talented Mountaineers, and it's all generated off the defense. When they're caught in a half-court game, it just isn't to their liking.
So we see Rutgers man-to-man now for the first time today, and Billett defending Moore.
Kevin Bannon is a man-to-man coach, but this team is not ready to play man-for-man.
Hardnett with the turnaround, rebound in the lane, Sanders. He went man-to-man in his first 3 games, and he's the first to admit he really doesn't have the personnel to play that way now. We'll see if they stick to it or if that was just a look for one possession.
Mike Krzyzewski had a similar problem when he first came to Duke. Had an okay year the first year, went to the NIT, and then had the 2 worst years in Duke history back-to-back. 10 and 17, 11 and 17, trying to instill that man-for-man. He stuck with his guns and eventually got the people to do it his way, and it may be the same for Kevin Bannon. But right now, he's inherited an 11-16 team that was used to playing lots of zone, and to try to cope and survive this year, he's going to go back with what they're more familiar with.
Jake Voskuhl has picked up his 4th foul with 10:47 to go. So now UConn in a heap of trouble with Kleber, Freeman, and Voskuhl, all with 4 fouls. Voskuhl sits down. And at the free throw line, Eric Clark will shoot. The Scarlet Knights just now 4 of 9 from the line. So UConn with Elamine, Moore, Hamilton, Jones, and Kleber with the 4 fouls in the lineup, as Calhoun continues to juggle his big men, all saddled with 4 fouls. Clark makes them both. UConn still up by 9 as we approach the midway point of the half. Rutgers with some token full court pressure.
It's like a 3-quarter 2-2-1. It's actually the same defense the Huskies run.
Hamilton at the baseline. Cross court to Kleber. He's double teamed, knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Rutgers. And we will get our first look at Sam Funches for UConn. The 6'9" sophomore from Jackson, Mississippi. He replaces Kleber. So now UConn is small with an inexperienced man inside in Funches. Doesn't play very much.
Well, the book on him is he can shoot and he can reject. He's just not aggressive enough at this point in his career to please Jim Calhoun.
So this is Hamilton. Shot clock down to 5. Moore. Elamine for 3. In and out. Rebound Clark. Funches averaging only 3 minutes per game. Look at Jones with another steal. Can he beat Sanders to the basket? Yes, sir.
Incredible.
He had 5 steals in 10 minutes in the first half, but that was his biggest steal of the game. UConn by 11. Clark down low. Outside to Billett for 3. Blocked by Moore. Fouled by Moore. And Billett will be at the line to shoot 3. And Moore is in a state of disbelief.
Oh, you got to be very, very sure when you attack a 3-point shooter.
So Billett will go to the line to shoot 3. Here we see it again. Really couldn't tell from that angle.
Billett, an 86% free throw shooter. 6 for 7 this year. Smart, tough kid. One of the tri-captains as appointed by Kevin Bannon. His assist turnover ratio was only about 1.5 to 1 coming into this game. And of course, Connecticut tests you like Most teams won't with their pressure D.
Here we see what Rutgers has done from the line and the floor today. Billett, one of 2 players on the Rutgers team with a positive assist-to-turnover ratio through the first 4 games. Tough to win that way.
Yep. The other is Greer, the freshman, who's going to be very good.
Billett an all Big East rookie choice 2 years ago. Last year, Earl Johnson was an all Big East rookie choice. Johnson sitting it out today with a sprained ligament in his left knee, suffered the other night against Miami. So Billett hits the hat trick, puts the UConn lead to 8. Sanders sits down, Johnny Blake in the lineup, and the crowd back in the game, and many of that crowd on its feet.
Even more amazing, Rutgers hanging in there. Earl Johnson, their best ball handler, out, although he is expected back much sooner, possibly in a week.
Man-to-man for Rutgers again, and here's Greer really with a silly foul on the perimeter on Hamilton. And for Greer, that will be his second. 3 team fouls on the night, so the Huskies are not shooting. Yeah, originally they said Johnson would be out 10 to 14 days. Now they're saying he could be back as soon as next Saturday against South Florida. Now Hamilton is shaken up and on his knees, and UConn trainer Joe Sharp over to tend to him. Not sure whether he took a shot in the midsection and had the wind knocked out of him or what.
I think that's one of those injuries that even hurt when you blink.
There you see what Rip has done today. Jim Calhoun also over to take a look. We mentioned earlier today, UConn will get some reinforcements on December 20th when the first semester ends. When they play North Carolina Wilmington, 3 new players will be eligible. One of them is Suleiman Wan, a 6'11" sophomore. And boy, could they use him today with all their big guys in foul trouble. Another is Albert Mooring, a 6-foot freshman who finally qualified academically after taking the Scholastic Achievement Test yet again during the actual semester, and passed, and now has enrolled at UConn, will be eligible for the second semester. And the third player, E.J. Harrison, a 6'2" guard, so that will give him much more depth, because one thing UConn doesn't have right now is a lot of depth.
Especially in the front court. I think their perimeter is pretty well stocked. Look at this. Again, all in the change of emphasis. Rutgers beginning to penetrate, pass to the post, take it into the paint. Even though they're not really gifted there, it's like a body blow in this fight, and Connecticut has not handled it well. Once they've been able to crack the excellent perimeter defense, they have shown that Huskies are a little bit vulnerable down in the paint, as you pointed out. Not many bodies, not enough skill.
So Hamilton sits down, and Voska with 4 fouls back in. Spin move by El Amin. Oh my goodness. That quieted the crowd in a hurry.
Don't try that one unless you got a good chiropractor close by.
Greer, 3-pointer, in and out. Rebound in the lane. Hodgson, foul. This could be number 5 on someone. And it is. Goodbye, Antrick Kleber. No, Ricky Moore. Ricky Moore. I apologize. Sure, Jim Calhoun is delighted I'm wrong about that. So Moore now with 2. Hamilton obviously okay. He'll come back in. Moore with the reach in. But UConn now with 10 team fouls, so Rutgers will be shooting 2 on everything from here on in, and that's important the way the Knights have been shooting their free throws. They have not been efficient from the line today.
But Hodgson is a 77% free throw shooter, and that one walked in. If they could just manage to keep Billett and Hodgson going to the line, they'll be all right. It's the other guys that have destroyed the percentage.
So Hodgson with them both, and that percentage looking much better now. Rutgers now 10 of 16, 10 of 14 allowed.
The 3-quarter court pressure back into the matchup by Rutgers. Not meant to hurry the Huskies, but more to slow them down. And it's working.
Foul on Ricky Moore, by the way, was his 3rd. So UConn 3 players with 4 fouls and Moore with 3. This is Jones. Crowd wanted to travel. Hamilton for 3. UConn up 11. 51-40.
That's what
8 minutes to go.
Sorry, Bob. That's what I call them rip. Great defense that time by the Scarlet Knights. He just ripped their heart out from out there.
Hamilton now with 20 points. Down low, Hodgson spins, shoots over Jones. Foul on Jones. That will be his first. And once again, Rutgers right back to the free throw line. After today, UConn will play Virginia in Charlottesville on Wednesday. I'm not sure it would be the ideal time to go down to play Virginia after Virginia absolutely was blown away yesterday by Duke.
Well, I've been able to work Duke game this year in North Carolina, and those teams are very, very good. This Connecticut team, with its defense and its quickness, great perimeter skills, by February could be in that league. Right now they're a little young and a little thin up front, but you're right, Virginia just got hammered up there. They're off to a disappointing start, and I know they're looking for not to be a good host when anybody comes in. They're really licking their wounds after that beating in Durham.
The last time UConn went to Charlottesville, it was 4 years ago. UConn beat them by 30. This is El Amin. Rutgers is pulled within 9. Voskuhl high post. Hamilton left wing for 3. Missed everything. Rebound Billett. Rutgers looks to run. 4 on 3. Blake on the left for 3. Rebound Jones. They have Hamilton open on the left wing. El Amin holds it out. Voskuhl jockeying for position inside. This is Hamilton wide open on the right wing. Long rebound to Billett.
Billett just killing him off that side of the board. We talked about how vulnerable they were with him back there trying to keep Rutgers off the glass, but the small team on the floor for the Huskies helps him. Plus, he's just a gutty kid and plays percentage on the rebounds.
Here's a whistle before the shot by Hodgson. A foul on the screen on Rutgers.
Jim Calhoun clapping, saying it's about time.
And we have a timeout on the floor with 7:06 remaining in the ball game. We have a good one in Piscataway. UConn leads Rutgers by 9. Back in Piscataway, New Jersey, Bob Picozzi along with Bucky Waters. 7:06 to go. How'd you like to be Jeff Billett trying to stay with this young man?
Only a freshman. Khalid Amin with a spin move. Only just an incredible skill. 200-pounder, only 6 feet tall. But he is the only rookie on this team. But it appears now that a child shall lead them if Connecticut is going to get to the promised land. Really clever. I swear he plays like a guy 30 years old. He just doesn't play like a freshman.
13 minutes gone, second half. Rutgers 2 field goals this half, 2 of 13. Fortunately for the Scarlet Knights, they've gone to the line 16 times, which is 16 more times than UConn has gone to the line this half.
El Amin only 4 for 14, however.
Puts up the shot, whistle, and the foul will be on Billett. Or is it on Blake? It's on Blake. And it was off the ball, so UConn still won't be going to the line. Huskies have gone to the line 2 times in 33.5 minutes.
Well, the tactical reason for that is they're a jump shooting team. I'm sure Calhoun is not taking that into account as he's pointing to the disparity on the fouls.
This is El Amin, Jones, Rutgers in the 2-3 zone. Hamilton in the lane. 20 on the shot clock. El Amin looks to reset. Gets a screen from Glaber. Goes around Hodgson, the runner. No good. Rebound, El Amin while on the floor. And another reset and a new clock.
He's now 4 for 16 and continues to amaze everybody. He just manages to get his hands on the ball and make a play. And when he shoots, that's icing on the cake.
Entering today's game, UConn had gone to the line 120 times in the first 7 games. 22nd timeout for Jim Calhoun as we take a look.
Over 2 Rutgers players that hits the floor. Khalid El Amin manages to kick it back out, and the Huskies will reset.
Following the trip to Virginia, On Wednesday, UConn will have a 9-day break for final exams before returning to play against North Carolina Wilmington, and that's when the 3 new players, Juan and Harrison and Mooring, will join the Huskies. Nice. Following the 22nd timeout, the inbound to Voskuhl. This is Moore, defended by Blake. Shot clock at 20. Looks to get the screen from Claver. On the switch, Claver's wide open. Back out to Moore. Clock now at 10.
It almost looks like a box in one. Billett tracking El-Amin.
And a shot clock violation. So Rutgers does the job defensively. And with 5.5 to go, it will be Scarlet Knights ball down by 9.
Calhoun wants pressure. If the depth and the quickness and the commitment to pressure is going to pay off with 5:35, this is the time that we'll see if Billett can take this siege for 40 minutes. He hasn't had a blow all day, and he's handled the ball much of the time against this good Husky pressure.
And this coming off a 40-minute performance Tuesday night in Miami for Jeff Billett. Rutgers, by the way, 2-0 in their Big East home opener since joining the league, and this is their Big East home opener this year. Tenise down low, working on Voskuhl. He's got 4 fouls. Took about 3 steps too many. And the ball goes over to UConn, and Kevin Freeman will return to the lineup.
Jake Voskuhl played this extremely well. He just tried to maintain his position, frustrated Tenise a little bit, and yeah, I don't care what side of the Atlantic you're on. That's 3 big ones, and he didn't say may I.
And when you have feet his size, it's tough to hide it. 23 turnovers for the Scarlet Knights. Freeman is back in the lineup. Claver sits down. So let's see if UConn tries to work the clock a bit. Up 9 with under 5 to go. Moore on the left. This is Hamilton. Goes around Greer, down low, Freeman, baseline. Pretty feed to Voskuhl. What awareness there by Freeman.
Yeah, great interior passing that time by the Huskies. Freeman is a very mobile floor player. I mean, you won't see many power forwards with that kind of agility.
This is Blake. Greer, defended by Hamilton. Inside to Tenise, has trouble handling it. Kevin Bannon, the first to admit that Tenise doesn't have the greatest composure at the offensive end of the floor. Shot clock at 5. This is Billett over Voskuhl. And Voskuhl deflects the rebound to his teammate Freeman. So
nobody on the board for the Scarlet Knights.
Right. Voskuhl doing a nice job defending the play and not picking up his 5th. El-Amin no good. Rebound off Freeman. Foul on Hodgson, I believe. And Rutgers now with, it should be team foul number 6. UConn still not shooting, but we have a timeout on the floor. 3:55 left in this one, and 13th ranked UConn leads Rutgers by 11. 53-42 UConn, 3:55 to go. We shall see what Kevin Bannon can do here at Rutgers. But Bucky, when he took over the Ryder program, inherited a school's basketball program which won 5 games the year before, and increased their win total in each of his first 5 years there. And during that 5-year stretch, Ryder was the only Division I team in the country to win more games each season than they did the year before.
Well, there's no question. Everywhere he's been, he's made it better, much better. 15 years as a head coach, he's made 6 NCAA tournaments. And that's taken into consideration. He had considerable work to do to build him up to that level.
And at Trenton State on the Division III level, he took Trenton State once to the NCAA finals. They won 30-2 in his last year there. Here's Voskuhl. Great feed down low to Freeman, and a push will be called on either Sanders or Tenise. It will be Sanders, and we will finally see UConn get to the free throw line.
Well, they're starting to dump that ball down into the post. Voskuhl that time with a good turnaround, feeding from the top that way. It's really difficult to defend.
So this is UConn's first trip to the line this half. They only have attempted 2 free throws in the entire game. Freeman makes the first of 2. Freeman, a very versatile player. Actually, when Jim Calhoun recruited Freeman, he felt eventually he would be the perfect 3. But he hasn't had a chance to play that position here because UConn's loaded there. But he's a great 4 and has to fill in at the 5.
There are those who say that he can shoot the 3 out there, but the leash says no.
Well, he was their leading rebounder last year as a freshman, and is their leading rebounder this year.
They got plenty of guys that can do that. That goes back to the point I meant about clear roles for Jim Calhoun's team.
Billett comes around the screen, gets a good look, no good. Rebound, Voskuhl gets it out to Hamilton. So UConn biggest lead of the game, 13. Hamilton drives and will go to the line to shoot a couple.
You can tell Rutgers beginning to tire. Hamilton took off way out front. It was a big-time move to the basket, but there were white jerseys back. Watch, nobody comes across to step in front and take that charge. Hodgson thinks about it, but thinks better of it and allows him to go to the hoop. I think he really could have drawn the charge if he'd have stood his ground there. He had plenty of time to adjust.
So Sanders now with 4 fouls as Hamilton goes to the line for Jim Calhoun, who has taken his UConn Huskies to a postseason tournament in each of the last 10 years. UConn, one of only 9 schools in the country that can make that claim. 6 NCAAs, 4 NITs. Also took Northeastern to the NCAA 5 times during his 14 years there. He's got a few pelts on the wall.
He's had a heck of a run. Good coach. I remember doing NCAA games when he was at Northeastern.
There's a beautiful feed, backdoor feed from Hodgson to Sanders. So UConn up a dozen still, 2:40 to go. And this is where it's really tough against a team like UConn because they have so many guys who can handle the ball.
Yeah, their perimeter skills right now will make it very difficult for a tired Scarlet Knights to come out and do much damage with the press.
El-Amin drives, and a foul call by referee Mike Kitts.
Connecticut now spreading the floor.
So Eric Clark has fouled out of the game with 2:22 to go. And that makes a tough situation even more difficult for Kevin Bannon. This is the first of 2 meetings this year between these two. They'll do it again on January 31st at UConn. Of course, the way the Big East schedule works is you will play 6 of the 12 teams in the league home and home in a season, and the other 6 only one time, and then it flip-flops the next year. So this year UConn and Rutgers will go at it twice. El-Amin just 4 of 17 from the floor today, and here he is at the line. 2-time State of Minnesota High School Player of the Year, McDonald's All-American. In fact, this is the first time ever that UConn has had 2 McDonald's All-Americans on their team at the same time, Richard Hamilton being the other.
Talking to Jim Calhoun before the game, we were talking about coaching and coaching styles. The most important thing you can do is get good players, and you can coach them a lot of different ways and be successful. Without players, you're not a good coach.
And he has done that very consistently at UConn. During one 3-year stretch, the Huskies went 89-13. And in the Big East during that same 3-year stretch, they lost just 5 games in 3 years in Big East conference play.
Well, the other impressive thing about his record, he's 11-5 in the NCAA and 11-3 in the NIT. So they can talk about whether the Big East is a strong league or a weak league, but at that level, you're playing the best.
So under 2 minutes to go, UConn up 14 and about to improve its record to 7-1 and 2-0 in the conference. So the Huskies will just spread it out, work that clock, shot clock down to 15. This is Freeman, shot clock at 10. Pass at Hamilton's feet. Now it's loose on the floor, still loose, and Hamilton controls it and manages to call time. So a heads-up play by Hamilton. And when play resumes, it will be UConn ball, but they will only have 4 seconds to get the shot off. So timeout on the floor, 1:25 left. UConn leads Rutgers by 14. 1:25 to go in the ball game, and UConn leads Rutgers by a score of 58-44. Following a UConn timeout, it will be Huskies ball with just 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Rutgers led 19-15 with 11:10 to go in the first half. And since then, UConn has outscored the Scarlet Knights 43-25. And UConn on its way to a 4th straight win over Rutgers since the Scarlet Knights joined the Big East. This is their 3rd year in the league, and they have yet to beat UConn. And Khalid El Amin will inbound at midcourt. Tries the lob pass inside to Freeman, but went over his head and off the backboard. So Rutgers with it. Greer on the left. This is Hodgson, and now Kevin Bannon wants to talk things over and calls a timeout with 1:16 to go, and his club trailing by 14. 1:16 left in the ball game. UConn leads Rutgers 58-44. You're watching Big East basketball. This league, and UConn, of course, a state institution. Rutgers is the State University of New Jersey, and Bannon says, quite frankly, UConn is our role model. We would like to do what Jim Calhoun has done at UConn here at Rutgers. This Bannon's first opportunity to go head-to-head with Jim Calhoun since taking over at Rutgers. Here's Greer with the runner in the lane, rolls around the rim. Hamilton with the rebound, but lost his footing and is called for traveling with 59 seconds remaining. Jeff Billett will inbound beneath the Rutgers basket. This is Tenise to Greer, defended by Hamilton. Greer drives, kicks it out to Tenise for the jumper from the wing, misses everything. And Ricky Moore with the rebound, and he is fouled by Hodgson. That will be team foul number 10 on Rutgers, so Moore will shoot a couple, and everything the rest of the way will be a 2-shot situation for UConn. Kevin Bannon at age 40 has won 277 games at age 40. This is 3rd head coaching job, Trenton State, then Ryder, and now here at Rutgers. The foul on Sanders is his 5th, so he departs, becoming the 2nd Rutgers player to foul out today. Eric Clark was the 1st. And Ricky Moore will go to the line to shoot a couple. Moore, as always, very selective when it comes to shooting. Rarely takes a bad shot. He'll have one more. And makes the 2nd. 59-44. UConn by 15. 48 seconds remaining. Billett across the line. Defended by Freeman now on a switch. Freeman at 6'7". Billett just 6'2". Tenise with the hook in the lane. He has had a rough afternoon. Rebound Bosco. Here comes El Amin. Left hand pass to Freeman. Shot clock is off. We'll see if Rutgers fouls. Down by 15. They probably don't want to prolong this anymore. This is El Amin. Drives the lane. Loses the handle. Last touch by Hodgson. So with 9 seconds, UConn will inbound beneath its own basket. Rashamel Jones and Sam Funches and Antrick Klaber all check into the UConn lineup, replacing Kevin Freeman and Jake Bosco. And also Richard Hamilton has sat down. This is El Amin. Takes a long 3. Rebound by Greer. Blake on the left. To Billett, and that is it. So UConn has defeated Rutgers 59-44. The Huskies upping their record to 7-1. 2-0 in the Big East. Rutgers dropping to 1-4, 0-2 in the Big East. So Bucky, your first look at UConn, are they the best team